Remember when stepping onto an airplane felt like embarking on a grand adventure, where the journey was just as thrilling as the destination? Back in the golden era of air travel, from the 1950s to the 1970s, flying wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. It was a luxurious escape high above the clouds, reserved for those who could afford a touch of elegance. Passengers dressed up, savored fine meals, and relaxed in ways we can only dream about today. Today we're looking at 10 forgotten comforts from that magical time, when the skies were friendlier and the experience was pure delight. 1. Room to stretch. The generous seats. In the 1950s and 1960s, when jet planes like the Boeing 707 first took to the skies, cabins were designed with comfort in mind, offering up to 40 inches of legroom even in standard seats. What made it special was the feeling of space. You could cross your legs, stand up easily, or even stroll the wide aisles without bumping into anyone, turning long flights into relaxing retreats. Airlines prioritize passenger ease over packing in more people, creating an atmosphere like a cozy living room at 30,000 feet. But by the late 1970s, after airline deregulation made flying cheaper and more accessible, seats shrank to maximize profits, squeezing out that beloved roominess we still miss. 2. Feast in the clouds. Fine dining aloft. During the jet age's heyday, meals were crafted by top chefs and served on real china plates with silver cutlery, often including multi-course spreads like carved roast beef or lobster. It was special because eating felt like dining at a fancy restaurant, complete with linen napkins and wine pairings that made time fly by. Historical photos show passengers savoring caviar from ice sculptures, a far cry from today's quick snacks. This vanished in the 1980s as costs rose and airlines cut back to stay competitive, replacing elegance with simple, pre-packaged options to serve the growing crowds. 3. Sky-high socializing, onboard bars and lounges. In the 1960s and 1970s, some planes like the Boeing 747 featured piano bars or lounges where passengers mingled over cocktails, chatting and laughing like at a cocktail party. What set it apart was the social vibe. It turned strangers into friends, with live music adding a touch of glamour to flight. Airlines like Pan Am made this a signature perk, drawing from the era's love for sophisticated travel. These disappeared after deregulation, as space was repurposed for more seats to lower ticket prices, and in the era of airborne gatherings. 4. Puffing at altitude. In-flight cigarettes. Back in the 1950s to the 1970s, smoking was not only allowed but encouraged, with flight attendants handing out free cigarettes and ashtrays built into every armrest. It felt special as a relaxing ritual, fitting the adult sophistication of air travel when over half of Americans smoked. Cabins had ventilation systems to handle the haze, making it seem normal at the time. Health concerns grew in the 1980s, leading to bans starting in 1988 for safety and passenger well-being, clearing the air but erasing a once common comfort. 5. Slumber in the skies. Airborne bedrooms. On long-haul flights in the golden era, especially overnight ones, seats converted into beds or berths with privacy curtains, letting passengers sleep like in a hotel. This was magical because it meant arriving refreshed, not exhausted, with crew providing turned-down service, complete with pillows and blankets. It stemmed from the 1950s push to mimic ocean liner luxury in the air. As flying democratized post-1978, these setups were phased out for denser seating arrangements, prioritizing quantity over restful quality. 6. Pack without worry. Free luggage service. In the 1950s and 1960s, there were no baggage fees or strict limits. Passengers could check multiple suitcases for free, often delivered straight to their homes by airline couriers. What made it wonderful was a hassle-free convenience, allowing travelers to bring whatever they needed without extra costs or worries. This reflected the era's focus on full-service pampering for affluent flyers. Deregulation in the late 1970s brought competition and cost-cutting, introducing fees to boost revenue as tickets got cheaper. 7. Dress to impress. The fashion of flying. Flying back then meant donning your finest clothes, men in suits, women in dresses and hats, turning the cabin into a runway of style from the 1950s onward. It was special because it elevated the whole experience, making passengers feel like celebrities in a glamorous event. Airlines encouraged this dress code to match their upscale image during the jet boom. By the 1980s, as air travel became every day for everyone, casual attire took over, reflecting a shift to practicality over polish. 8. Easy breezy boarding, hassle-free airports. Airports in the golden age had minimal security, just a quick ticket check and no long lines, with observation decks for family farewells waving from below. This simplicity made starting your trip feel exciting and stress-free, like heading to a party rather than checkpoint. It grew from the 1950s when flying was rare and threats were low. Post-1970s hijackings and 9/11 later tightened rules for safety, adding layers of screening that ended the carefree entries. 9. Attentive angels, devoted flight attendants. Flight attendants in the 1960s were like personal hosts, with ratios as low as 1 per 14 passengers, remembering names and preferences for tailored service. What shone was their warmth and dedication, turning service into genuine care, from mixing drinks to chatting during quiet moments. They embodied the era's hospitality, trained extensively in elegance. As passenger numbers swelled after deregulation, crews handled more people with less time, diluting that intimate touch. 10. Mementos from above, skyborne keepsakes. Passengers often received free postcards, playing cards, or junior pilot wings as souvenirs, stamped and mailed from the air to share the thrill. These tokens made flying memorable, like collecting treasures from a special outing in the jet age's optimistic days. Airlines used them to build loyalty and excitement among travelers. In the cost-conscious 1980s, such extras were dropped to trim expenses, leaving behind only fond memories instead of tangible reminders. Those were the days when flying wrapped you in comfort and wonder, weren't they? If this stroll through the golden skies stirred up some warm recollections, hit that like button, share your own stories from back then in the comments, and subscribe for more trips down memory lane. Safe travels.